history and political science, and these two have been my prime area of interest. However, in school, I wasn't exposed to a more current field of global affairs and how states interact with each other, diplomacy, non-state actors, and all of these fields. However, through MUNs, I had limited exposure, and I knew that this was my area of interest. And I did get admissions in St. Stephen's for history honors and LSR for political science honors. However, I kind of knew that I was interested in a more dynamic field, in a more happening and a currently occurring field, something that I was interested in reading news, and all of these areas kind of helped me keep up with my current interest. So I knew that my interest was not in political science or history. And that's where I think I made one of my most informed decisions, that is to choose your college according to your course and not the other way around. So that's why I stood up for global affairs. And looking at colleges that offer global affairs, I found Jindal to be the best package in a holistic sense, because it not only offers you the theoretical knowledge that you require for this particular field, but over the course of these 2 years, I have realized that along with the theoretical knowledge and the expertise that the faculty has to offer, the school also gives you a lot of practical experience in this field, because it's like I mentioned, I'm interested in the dynamics of this entire course. And over the course of these 2 years, I've had the privilege of expanding my field of knowledge in the practical sense. Since I'm interested, my area of interest is the Middle East, I have got the opportunity of interviewing the Russian ambassador to India. I have got the opportunity of meeting the Syrian delegation, their education minister, and having a one-on-one tea session with them, interviewing them regarding the current ongoing situation in Syria. So I have had an ex-diplomat teaching me diplomacy. So I think all of these kind of lived up to my expectations. JSI lived up to my expectations of studying this dynamic field. And why I did not choose political science or history was because although it does offer you the background knowledge that you need for this course, I feel that's very theoretical in its approach. And I think I made an informed decision in this sense. And JSI also kind of gives you the background that you need with regards to history and political science. So I kind of did not miss out on anything and got to expand my area of interest in a very holistic.
So Tamanna, I'd just like to interrupt you here for a second. I just want to rewind a little bit into what you said earlier, that when you were looking out for colleges or universities to study in, you said that you had gotten an admission into St. Stephen's, or you'd been looking at St. Stephen's as an option, and yet you chose JSIA over St. Stephen's. Now that would be brave, wouldn't it? That's a very brave move.
I actually got a lot of these from relatives and from people, from my classmates, ex-classmates. They asked me why I left such an opportunity. Until now, I've been asked, do I regret that decision? So in all honesty, like I said, I think one of the most informed decisions of my life was to choose my college according to my course and not the other way around. I did not want to make a compromise on what I was interested in just because of the name of the college. And I do not regret it, because like I said, the kind of resources that Jindal School of International Affairs has offered me with respect to expanding my area of interest and the opportunities that they have given me are mind-blowing. So I don't think I would have gotten the opportunity to interview such high dignitaries if I was studying in Stephens, or I don't think I would have been selected for a student exchange to go to Israel, because Israel is one of my areas of interest, and I got selected this semester to go study there for an entire semester free of cost, because it was an exchange program.
Right. We'll talk about exchanges in a bit though, but I'm so glad that, I can see that journey that you made from an interest in history and international, politics and relations, and then your foray into mock United Nations, or MUNs as we call them, and then selecting a global affairs program over a standard history or a political science program. I'm going to very quickly move on. We'll come back to exchanges later on, but I just want to move on to Abhijit now. Abhijit, you also came from, from a school background into the university, and I'm assuming you would have had a similar sort of experience in choosing JSIA. What I want to ask you is, how was the transition like? You're safe in school, and all of a sudden you're getting into university. It's slightly scary. It's unnerving. There's a lot of uncertainty. So Abhijit, how did you feel in terms of your initial couple of weeks and your first year? Abhijit?
Hi, sir. Thank you. So when I was a student in a boarding school, and As a student in a boarding school, you are in a very protected environment, like a kind of a bubble. So I was in a bubble essentially, and when we came to Jindal, my mind got exposed to a wide variety of things that were not accessible to me before. So, like Tamanna, I came into the foray thinking that I'll be pursuing global affairs and doing more in diplomacy. But when I came to Jindal the first year, there was such an interdisciplinary environment that it allowed me to pursue other interests and develop interests of my own in the first year itself. So, but as you said, it was very different coming into a college right out of school, and from a bubbled environment into a space where you are responsible for your own decisions. And I think in the first year, the buddy and our seniors, it really helped me to orient myself and
Abhijit, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You mentioned something called the Buddy Project. What is
the buddy project is essentially a senior driven student led where the freshers are welcomed into campus for a whole weekend, and there are various activities conducted and seminars and educational seminars given to the students to make them more prepared for college life. So during my first year, I attended the buddy project, and the buddy project helped me, settle with college life. It helped me to find out various resources. They gave me some sex education, and it was an overall very conducive and healthy environment and made me feel very safe while joining into a new place
Abhijit,
like
but
this.
what about ragging? Did this Buddy Project sort of enable ragging? Did it dissuade ragging? Um, because that's one of the biggest fears that school students have, right? That we'll get into university and we'll get ragged. And that is unfortunately a problem in many universities and colleges across India.
Yeah, and it also gets reinforced when you watch these and you see how like first year students are getting ragged by the seniors. But when we came to Jindal, it was explicitly mentioned to us by our seniors themselves that there will be no ragging. It was said multiple times throughout the buddy project, and I'm proud to say that they lived up to their word. There was no ragging whatsoever for first years, and since I also a graduate, we've never ragged anybody. I think it's a no ragging campus, it's an absolute
Right.
ragging free
Wonderful.
campus.
So tell me what it was like in your first year. The teachers, the methodology of teaching. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Okay, so coming from a CBSE background, you are used to notebook driven and textbook driven education where topics are numbered and you have to learn them according to questions that will come in the exam. When you come to Jindal in the first year, the scope expanded by a lot, and there was no set notebook. There were readings from all over the world. We had to continue reading newspapers every day, and we had to read journals from multiple sources, not just Western sources, Eastern sources, not non-Western sources as well. So I think that was a very interesting and very engaging kind of an education for me because I had not experienced that before, and it was reinforced by a lot of practical learning, a lot of practical teaching. Like Tamanna said, that our professor, Dr. Mohan Kumar, he's an ex-diplomat from India to France. So, when you get that kind of a personality in the room, it just takes the level of education up a notch.
I agree.
So,
I've met Dr. Mohan Kumar many times, and yes, I mean his personality is amazing, and the fact that he's been a career diplomat and he's spent like 35 years in the Indian Foreign Service, and it's so great to have him teach you guys. All right, I'm going to continue with this discussion on academics and teaching and learning. I'd now like to invite Ishita and Zeus to talk about academics in general. I know that Ishita, you've just joined us, and it's been a year, I believe, and yes. Zeus is in the second year. So let's start with you, Ishita. How do you find the teaching and the pedagogy or the course structure, really, of the Global Affairs program at JSIA? Over to you, Ishita. And then we'll move on to Zeus.
Yes, I was on the basis of academics as a whole. And my experience has been amazing. When it comes to curriculum, it's excellent and diverse, dynamic. So in my second semester, I had diplomacy, and it was taught by Mohan Kumar. And he has been there. He knows everything. He gives you current examples of what's going on in the world. And I'm not from humanities background. So when I came to Jindal, when I joined JSIA, I was very, I was very scared of how things are going to be. But throughout my first year, I had subjects that make a good base for diplomacy and foreign affairs that I'm going to study in my second and third year more depth. So my first year I had 14 subjects in total, including my foreign language, and 13 different professors. And till
That's
date,
work. I mean, 13 subjects in the first year. Wow, and a foreign language. You'll come back to languages in a bit, but do
yes.
continue.
So my experience of professors has been so great that I still talk to them. I still attend their webinars who taught me first semester. And the relationship which you share with your professors in JSI is not just limited to the subject. We do have mentors, but you can just go and talk to any professor about the subject, about the initiatives that you want to take. I've been planning a lot of initiatives recently, but the professors, the kind of support they give you, it feels like they're themselves invested in your future. And apart from this, the curriculum in itself, it's so current that I'll give you an example of economics. So in our second semester, our professor eliminated a part of our syllabus to add on to COVID-19 economics.
Wow.
To explain us how things are working in COVID.
Right.
So these things really make it a current.
Because international relations, of course, are getting affected with the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, we've seen how trade relations between China and the United States have been affected. But that's wonderful. That's like really cutting edge, right? Wow, I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about it. But do go on, Ishita.
Yes. So apart from this, if I talk about academics, we do have two to four lectures each day, differing from subjects and dates. But apart from these lectures, the classes, subject classes, we have webinars, seminars, talks. We have interactive sessions with professors talking about, like, randomly any professor would come and say, we have 3 days of lectures going on wherein we are going to talk about trade relationship between US and China. Right. So it is always very current. Even if we are studying political philosophy, we are studying what goes around in the world, not just the philosophies of a professor, of a philosopher, but what scholars interpret out of it. So everything in JSI is extremely current and diverse and amazing.
Wonderful to hear. Zeus, your take on academics at JSIA. Could you talk a little bit about foreign languages? Because I believe Ishita did mention that. I want to understand what's the relevance. Let's start off with, what do you think is the relevance of studying a foreign language? And does everybody have to study a foreign language at JSIA?
So I think that's one of the it's a really important thing that we do at JSI, is that when you join the school itself, you are given an option of foreign language, and you're given 5 different foreign languages that you can pick from. No, I don't think it's any more 5 now. So it's Spanish, French, German, and Mandarin. We also have Arabic, but then this is introduced as a later subject. But you're given a choice between French, Spanish, Mandarin, and German. And you can take a pick based on whatever you want, your choices, and where you prefer to angle yourself in the future. So when I joined JSI as well, I did not really know. I was like, should I take French, should I take Spanish? I never learned a foreign language before. And then I went and approached the professor and I said, what should I take? And she was very helpful, and she literally said that it depends on where you want to go in the future. Do you want to study development? Do you want to get into trade? Do you want to join the UN? I mean, it's a big dream, but it is still a choice that we can make. And I said maybe that I want to get into the development aspect of it. So she said, which area of the world are you interested in? Which region? At that time, I was interested in Latin America and Latin American studies and the things that were going on over there. So I said, Latin America. And she said, you have your option for you.
Right.
There's nothing to think about then. If you know what you want to study, then that's the language you
And
should
of
pick.
course, Spanish is
And that's why I picked
widely
Spanish.
spoken
So,
throughout Latin America.
Throughout Latin America. So I think that's where the relevance of it comes in as well, of learning a foreign language.
Right. So Zeus, could you introduce yourself in Spanish? Can you do that?
Me llamo es Zeus y estudio español en Universidad de Jindal.
Wow, muchas gracias, muchas gracias. All right, Zeus. Let's talk a little bit more about. So you think that learning Spanish is going to help you, work in the development sector in the Latin American countries. I think that's a great approach to choosing a language. Of course, for those of us who are looking to get into the corporate side, perhaps Mandarin or German would be a better option, because let's face it, the Chinese are taking over the world, right? In more ways than one, in terms of trade and companies. But I think that's a great option to have. I mean, if you can speak the language of the people you're going to be working with, it just makes for, relations, and it makes for coordination and cooperation that much more easier. Anything else about the academics at JSIA, Zeus?
So based on that, I mean, the language that was my interest in the beginning, the Latin American field, and that's why I took Spanish. Now, after joining Jindal and after being exposed to I don't know how many different kinds of subjects. So as Ishita mentioned, we have like between 6 to 7 subjects each semester, and those subjects are so diverse in nature that once I got into Jindal, maybe Latin America was my interest in the beginning, but now there are so many different things that I've been opened up to.
Wow.
So that's the best thing about Jindal. So they start you off in the first year by introducing you to very generic and very foundational courses. So you learn philosophy, political science, history, something that backs up all the other subjects that come later. Afterwards, they diversify, and then you have Indian foreign policy, you have an understanding of the UN systems, you have an understanding of sociology, of development, all of these things that are essential to the study of international relations. So I think that's it's a very important thing that we can do.
Right.
And so you can pick your language, you have courses that are assigned to you, and then you can pick electives. But additionally, you can also audit courses, which is what I've been doing since my second semester at least. So even if you are not enrolled in a course and you're very interested in the subject, all you have to do is mail a professor, ask them if you can sit in for their course, and they allow you to sit in for their course. And
this kind of reminds me of Three Idiots, where that line where Ranchor Das Chachar or Phung Suk Wangdu, whatever you want to call him, he just says that, there's knowledge to be gained everywhere. Just grab it wherever you can. And that's kind of sounds like what auditing classes is. But tell me something, Zeus. Are you allowed to take electives? Because, JSIA is one of 9 schools that constitute the OP Jindal Global University. Are you able to take up electives from other schools, let's say an international business course from, let's say, the business school, or the UN and lawmaking course from the law school?
So yes, we can, in short. And the thing is that we have 9 schools, as you mentioned. We have the international affairs, we have the law school, we have the business school, we have the liberal arts school, economics, and we also have the General Behavioral Sciences Institute. So if you're interested in any subject, you are offered a variety of electives from these schools, which you can elect for. I mean, you can elect for it only in your 4th semester, but still. So you have, if you're interested in psychology, the General Behavioral Institute offers a lot of courses on psychology, criminal psychology, and behavioral sciences and stuff like that. The law school offers you international humanitarian law, stuff that is very relevant to the study of international relations as well. And even if it is not relevant to international relations, if it's relevant to the study that you want to do as a person, you can pick a course, which if the school does not offer you, the university does.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for that, Zeus. We'll come back to you in a bit. Now, I believe Tamanna mentioned something about a semester abroad. So, Prisha, I'd like to invite you. I believe you did do a semester abroad at some point of time?
Yes, Professor, I did. I went on a semester exchange program last semester, in my 5th semester, to the Netherlands at Utrecht University.
Okay. Where is that, if I may ask?
That's in the Netherlands.
I see.
It's about a 20-minute train ride from Amsterdam. And I had a really good experience experience, and I picked this particular university like primarily because of two reasons. Firstly, because of the courses which were offered, and secondly, because it was in the heart of, you just make the most out of the entire experience. And like I just let the assistant deans for international collaborations, like I just informed them that this is where I wanted to go, and they were very helpful with the entire process, and they selected me. Basically, like I went through the entire selection process of
Okay, so
submitting my
let's talk about the selection process a little bit more. I mean, what was are you selected on the basis of grades? Is there a statement of purpose?
So it's a combination of all of the above. Basically, like you have to submit your transcript, your CV, and a statement of purpose, a letter of recommendation, and then on the basis of your GPA and extracurricular activities, they shortlist you for an interview. And this is basically the in-house JSIA level selection. And after that, once you're interviewed by the assistant deans, then if you clear the interview round, then they nominate you officially to the partner university.
So at what stage of your 3 years at JSIA did you go?
So I went in my 5th semester, which was at the beginning of my 3rd year.
So your selection would have been in your 3rd or your 4th semester, is that correct?
4th semester, yeah.
4th semester, which means that if you have to be selected to go abroad on a semester exchange program, you need to have really good grades in the first 2 years, right?
I mean,
right.
As well as like the other aspects as well, like extracurricular activities and all of those things. I think it's a combination of all of the like different elements. It's not only your academic achievement.
Right.
So yeah, because like after being selected by JSIA, I had to go through another selection process by Utrecht University. So it's so they will also assess my application, and then if they seem that I'm fit for the program, then they would select me. So that's what happens. And over there, at the liberal arts school of Utrecht University, courses related to affairs such as advanced IR theory, economic history, globalization, development studies, and intercultural communication. But I had hundreds of options, like varying from art to music to science, research methods, whatnot. But I chose particular courses because I wanted on the foundation that I had already formed as a JSIA. And these courses, in combination with the electives, as Zeus mentioned, I took in my 6th semester, which just got over. These so basically these courses, they helped me in streamlining my area of interest and my specialization, and sort of helped me navigate through my sort of academic and professional trajectory. So now I have more clarity thanks to the combination of the subjects that I took on my program as well as my 6th semester. And apart from the academic experience, of course, the semester exchange program has a lot of other elements, and it has definitely helped me in a great deal of personal growth, because I've met people from all over the world and sort of just lived by myself, cooked, cleaned, did laundry, all of these things, which is not the case in Jindal. Yeah, so it gives you
But hang on a minute. How much did you have to pay to go on this exchange program? Was there the tuition fee?
So when it is an exchange program, you basically do not pay the fee at the host university. So I paid my Jindal tuition fee, and so I paid my standard Jindal tuition fee, the BAGA program tuition fee, and I paid the living costs at Utrecht, which is basically just your boarding and food and all of that. Yeah. So that was a pretty great deal, because that particular university has pretty high, like a very high fees for non-EU students. So there were other Indian students there who were paying 10,000 euros a year, and I was there free of cost, which was pretty, special. So yeah,
I think the idea of an exchange program is very interesting, because not only do you get to see the perspectives that you talked about, and being taught in a foreign university, etc. But I think on the social or the personal growth front, I mean, you talked about I have to cook, clean myself, as opposed to where it's usually done for us in India, right? And I think it forces you to sort of take a real look at your life and bring fresh perspectives when you're living abroad. It's very different from traveling abroad for tourism here you're actually living there for about 4 or 5 months, right?
So it was for 5 months, and it definitely gave me this new sense of independence that I had not before. Like I had to just bike, like a bike ride away. I had to go get groceries suddenly or something like that. So it was a little hard adapting at first, but then I really enjoyed my time there. And I mean, I also traveled as much as possible on a student budget, and I'm fortunate to have been able to do that right before COVID-19 struck us. So I feel really lucky that way. So it was a perfect blend of academic, intellectual enrichment as well as personal growth and a fun social life. And I would really recommend a semester abroad opportunity to all prospective students as well. And there are a number of other opportunities available as well apart from the Netherlands. So I think each and every student should reach out to the faculty members as well as senior students to get some advice on where to go and just sort of
right. So thank you so much for that, Priyasha. Abhijit, would you like to add on to Priyasha's experiences? You're on mute, Abhijit. That's all right. There has to be at least one technical glitch at every webinar. Otherwise, what's a webinar without a technical glitch, right? Over to you, Abhijit.
All right. Unlike Priyasha, I didn't go for a semester exchange, but I went for a winter school in my second semester. And like you mentioned a while ago, that we have multiple options to take multiple languages. I opted for Mandarin in my first semester. And so we have a separate dedicated center for Mandarin called the Taiwan Education Center, which is a direct affiliate from Taiwanese government. So basically, Taiwanese local professors come to Jindal, and they teach us in an independent environment from JSIA. So basically, under JSIA, there's a separate department called the TEC, which is autonomous and teaches you, just like they'll teach anybody from Taiwan. Right? Now, since we were there, we got a lot of exposure from Taiwanese universities and really good universities like Tsinghua University. And through, keeping in touch with them, we came to know about a program that is between the Taiwanese government and the Indian government, called the Taiwan Education Experience Program. So essentially, it was facilitated by JGU, and I was recommended by my professor, and I had to fulfill I had to give a written exam. I had to provide my eligibility and how I had to give a test of my Mandarin skills. And then I was selected for a program along with 12 other Indians from universities like Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of Technology University in Madras.
IIT Madras, right? That's all right. But I'm really excited to know about this idea of a winter school. So you went during your winter break. So this is not a semester exchange program, right?
It wasn't a semester exchange program. I got done with my semester in November, and I went on December 12th, and I came back on February 12th. So it was a whole 2 months I was there. And as you know, Taiwan is not an easy country to manage because over there, unlike most European countries, nobody speaks English. There was zero English over there. The boards were in Mandarin, and even the food was in Mandarin. Even the Indian food was in Mandarin menu. So it was really confusing time for somebody who is only in his second semester of learning Mandarin. But I think attending that the winter school put me maybe 3 years ahead of my peers. So when I came back, mostly I really effortlessly sailed through most of the Mandarin till I came to my last semester where I enrolled for a much higher degree.
Because I'm guessing you had to speak Mandarin day in and day out, right?
Yeah. I had like 8 hours of classes. I had 5 to 8 hours of classes, out of which majority were Mandarin classes. And we used to engage with normal day-to-day sellers. Like we used to, and apart from that, we had 4 days a week off from classes. So only 3 days a week we had classes. Right. And those 4 days I made my mission to travel as much as possible. I went everywhere in Taiwan in the 2 months that I was there. I don't think there was a single city I missed. And we talked to vendors, we bargained for cheap rates in clothes, and we bargained for reducing prices in our group food.
All right. And in which case, can you say this is too expensive, bring the price down in Mandarin?
Chaga Thaigoela. Boyao, Dongchi, Ika Pianyi. That means like I want this to be sort of cheaper. This is too expensive.
Wow. Sure,
So
sure. Yes, thank you.
like that. Yeah, that's thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you said that
And it was
in developing your skills in Mandarin. Uh, what about perspectives? Because you spent 2 months there and you spent 2 months in an Asian country away from India. Did that help in sort of building up your own life skills?
so as you probably might know that Taiwan doesn't exactly enjoy the best relations with China, and there are a lot of rocky. They've had a lot of rocky relationships in the past. So over there, I went and I realized that the matter is not as black and white as it sounds on paper. That Taiwanese don't like Chinese. There was actually a huge faction of Taiwanese population that wanted to go back to China, and there was like a whole party for it that was pro-China. And everywhere I went, I could see rallies, I could see like a very vibrant political atmosphere, which one would not expect, considering that Taiwan is a part of China. So Taiwan in itself, when I went there, I realized that it was a vibrant democracy with multiple cultures living together in harmony, and that really changed my perspective. I went there with the idea that Taiwanese might be very racist towards Indians because of what we have been hearing, and it completely changed my perspective because they wholeheartedly accepted us. They really facilitated us there, and I think one of the main reasons why we could survive over there was because of the people who welcomed us in the first place. They made us. We had to cook our own food sometimes because they have really weird dining hours
Right.
which are not compatible to Indians. They have done with dinner at 8 o'clock, and we start with dinner at 8 o'clock. So that was really a culture shock for me. But living in an Asian country like Taiwan, I have to honestly admit that really broadened my perspectives. I honestly wanted to visit it again after I am done with my graduation to work there a little bit more, and but now because of this COVID-19, I'm like still in India. But I think if I hadn't gone for that winter school, then I probably wouldn't have this kind of thinking right now.
Right. Well, thank you so much, both Priyasha and Abhijit. I'm going to move on now and talk about a slightly different aspect of life at JSIA. So, as a faculty member at the OP Jindal Global University, I am required to not only teach or do administrative work, but we're also required to undertake research work. And we're constantly pushing the boundaries of human knowledge, which is the same for all faculty members at JSIA as well. I'm given to understand that JSIA has a number of research centers, and I'd like to ask Tamanna and Zeus about their experiences with the research centers that they've worked with. Now, Tamanna, you said you'd mentioned that you were working on some problem related to Syria. Tamanna?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. So, JSI, like other schools in Jindal, offers you a lot of opportunities to work with research centers depending on your interest. So there are research centers for Global South, for development studies, for Middle East, for economic studies. So according to my interest, like I mentioned earlier, and Professor Amora brings with himself a host of opportunities for students and a lot of experience in this field. He served as the ex-deputy foreign minister for the Syrian government.
Wow.
So because of all his contacts and his widespread knowledge, the center has benefited a lot. And through him, I got to meet the highest dignitaries that I mentioned earlier. Now, working in the Center of Middle East Studies, the best part about working in such a center is that it's very student-centric. All the initiatives that you carry out are your ideas that you pitch them, professor approves, professor gives you the platform and the resources to go through with your ideas. And it not only gives us the platform to work with and experience, but it also gives a lot of other students in Jindal to write about. People in law school we've launched a periodical which comes around once a semester, twice a semester, and we get submissions from students who are interested in the Middle East but do not have courses which kind of fulfill those interests. So through centers, a lot of cross intersectional academic interests are fulfilled, which is very helpful.
Wow. All right. Over to you, Zeus, who's in research center.
So I'm also part of the Center for Middle East Studies and another center which is recently lost, the Center for Security Studies. So as part of the opportunity to interact with people, we had interactions with the Russian army, had interactions with the Lebanese ex-prime minister who had also come to Jindal, all thanks to the center and thanks to Professor Amora. But more importantly, what you're given is an opportunity to publish your work.
Okay.
So a lot, both career for your masters and so we at the Center for Middle East Studies we publish a periodical. Part of other centers you have projects going on, research projects going. You have regular blog posts going. Oh, they publish blogs, they publish research papers, research articles, stuff like that. So as part of the Center for Security Studies also, we have been given an opportunity to carry out research projects. And research projects are not small things, they're quite big. So a normal research paper maybe would be around 5,000, 6,000 words. The research project, on the other hand, we have tried to make it a little bigger. And as someone has said, it's a student-centric approach. So we are allowed to do what we want with it under the guidance of a professor. So the research project which we are undertaking now is 4 research projects. And these research projects are like 15, 20,000 word long research projects, which will be very detailed and very focused. And what that allows you to do is learn a lot, because once you have researched on such amount of work, you kind of start getting specialized in it. And when you start getting specialized in it, you start gaining an interest in it as well. And that helps a lot, both now and for the future.
So you're suggesting that while engaging with research in itself gives you that sort of intellectual rigor and capacity. This is very surprising because usually when we engage in research, and I remember when I was in college, I published a paper on the basis of which I got, I got my first job. And I get why research is important and why publications are also important. But you're suggesting something a little different, because you said that as you research more, you get interested in the subject more, and does that sort of inform your career choices ahead?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It depends on how much research you're actually doing, right?
Yeah.
And with what center. So if you're interested in a subject, that should be your choice for joining the center in the first place. So I mean, I started with the Latin America thing and I wanted to join that center. I'd even applied to the center, never got in. But then I got another opportunity to join the Center for Middle East Studies, which was another area of interest. I took that up. The Middle East is obviously very interesting. There is every day there is something happening over there, and something dramatic.
Not just between the Arab
and
Israel. Now you've got Qatar in the mix.
There's a lot
so much happening.
Yeah, and on the other scale, I got interested. So we had this course on international security in my 3rd semester. And that is actually what pushed me towards security studies as a whole. So there are a lot of subsets of security that you don't understand until you have started learning it. And it's a very broad field. So that is what actually we got to the professor, went approached the professor, and we told him, so let's start some research projects on this. Let's do a little of study of what you have only basically touched the surface of. And that is what allowed me to join that center. And basically the center started now. So it's not necessarily what will direct your choice in the future, but it gives you more opportunities to broach a subject
so I think
you only know.
Joining a research center then, in which case, would definitely help you make up your mind as to which path to tread beyond the BA Global Affairs. All right. I want to move on to a few more practical aspects of this course. So I'm going to turn over to Ishita and Priyasha to talk about internships and careers. So we'll start with Ishita. Ishita, do we have a, have you been able to do an internship so far?
Yes, I have done 5 internships in my first year.
Wow.
And last night before this webinar, I was just looking at the more options for internships, and while I was looking at the OCS, so we have a separate department for internships, that's OCS, and it had already provided us 76 opportunities of internship for this semester that we could choose from. Apart from this, JSI gives you this opportunity of coming up with your own, the companies or research centers that you want to work with. For example, I want to work with a firm. So OCS can approach that company on the behalf of JSIA saying that, so this number of students are interested to intern with you. Do you have vacancy available? So that is very different from a student approaching any firm.
Because when you have an Office of Career Services of a university approaching, they just take it a lot more seriously, right? It's an institutional approach, right? But
and apart
there's a separate or a separate department just for career services, right? All right, back to you, Ishita.
Yes, apart from this, we have CV making workshops. Even today at 4 p.m., we have this interactive session with professors, wherein we can question about the future opportunities through OCS, what all we can do in JSIA after we are done with this degree. So these opportunities and these workshops are arranged by OCS that give you a wider point of view, wider perspective of what's going on in the near future of jobs and what all we can achieve. And last semester, so we had companies all over India who came to our campus just to give us internships before December. So we had a sit-in interviews. We had to prepare our CVs and dress up formally to sit, and it was very different because the campus is extremely private place for us, and we have now companies coming up who want to interview us, and it was an amazing experience because it did not just involve NGOs or research centers, but also corporate firms who wanted us as their research interns, and opportunities abroad to intern with. So these opportunities were very amazing.
Right, wonderful. That's the view from a first year student, Ishita, who's basically, and it's interesting, the Office of Career Services basically gives you an end-to-end solution where, you start with the writing and, you're given tips on interview skills or group discussion. And then they end up with activities on campus from where internships are generated. But I want to turn now to Priyasha. Now, Priyasha, you're about to graduate and hopefully you've passed all your exams this year. What plans for you, and did your time at JSIA sort of help you in your career aspirations and growth?
Since I'm a graduating student, I have both BA, GA, academic as well as professional trajectory. So what I the BA, GA is very diverse, yet it's very well balanced as well. And this has an impact on the career prospects. So if one is interested in national or international security, for example, they can work with a security and risk advisory firm for a year or two, and then continue to go for a post in graduate degree. In case I am interested, I realized over the last 3 years that I have an interest in the development sector, and current plans have been disrupted because of COVID-19. I wish to pursue a master's in public policy eventually. So, and this, I wouldn't have had this realization if it weren't for the really diverse courses and dynamic courses that I've taken and the mentorship that I received throughout my time at Jindal. And apart from that, even law is an area where BA Global Affairs students have gone on to pursue their further academic as well as professional aspirations. And whether it's international law or like human rights law of the seas, international arbitration, we've had a lot of students who've gone on to specialize in these areas. And one can also pursue journalism, and many current students as well as alumni, they contribute to reputed newspapers, magazines, and blogs. And also academia, I think, is one of the most well sought after sectors. And my students are interested in specializing in areas, whether it's regional studies or migration, climate change, peace and conflict studies. And they want to, just specialize in this or even work with think tanks. So it's pretty diverse. And like Ishita mentioned, the OCS, it definitely provides support with respect to landing pretty good career opportunities. But I also believe that a proactive student initiative is very integral with regards to careers, because if you don't, if you're not very sure about what you're interested in, if you don't actively, take the initiative, there's only so much the OCS can do. Like, they will give you the opportunities, they'll give you the list of opportunities, but you have to work hard and pursue those opportunities as well. So, and we also have the student placement representatives who are our batch representatives to the OCS. So they ensure that we don't miss out on any career opportunities as well.
Well, thank you so much for that, Priyasha. It seems that the work of the OCS in terms of bringing internships and career options to JSIA students has proved to be very, very beneficial. Very quickly, I'd like to invite Nandini ma'am. Hi, Nandini. How are you doing? You're on mute.
Yes. So hi Arya. So I'm in my friend's house because she has a better internet connection. So that's Nimi Ravi, but this is Nandini here, and I know most of you know me, returning students, graduating students, as well as new students. So hi everyone, and good to be here, and let's see what question Arya has for me.
Could you talk a little bit about scholarships, because I know that that is an issue that a lot of people, or a question that a lot of people talk about.
Well, yes, I'm sure all our new students are waiting for the scholarship form to be available. But before that, let me talk a little bit about the current criteria, because when I think most of the students have been awarded scholarships, are graduating and returning students. Then criteria was different, but now it's we have more things that we are looking for students to fulfill before we award them a scholarship. So there are basically two important criteria, which makes you eligible for a scholarship. So one of them is that you have to score 80% in your grade 12, overall 80%. So the more, the better over there. And the second part is the annual family income. Because obviously we want to provide scholarships for students who want to be in general but are not able to afford the fees. So we make sure that such students get scholarships. So we have an income slab, and any family which has an income over that will not be eligible to apply for scholarship. So these are the two important criteria. Now, apart from that, we also award points for certain other aspects like children of a single parent. We also look at children of serving armed forces, and police personnel. And apart from that, we also look at achievements, past achievements. It could not at national level or state level, international level. We can give. So in this regard, I would like to ask Tamanna to share her experience of 2 years ago. I'm sure she'll be able to give her perspective of how she was awarded a scholarship.
Thank you so much.
Tamanna, to you.
So Tamanna, were you given a scholarship?
No.
Yes, so I have a 100% scholarship, like my tuition fee. Yes. So again, that was a mixture of all the components that Nandini ma'am has mentioned. It firstly, it was merit based, like it required a certain amount of marks. So after my 12th grade, I got 99.25%. So with respect to that, I was awarded a certain amount of scholarship, and it obviously featured in other aspects like my CV. Like ma'am said, I have engaged in a lot of debating at the international level. And again, my father is in the defense forces. He's an army officer. So it requires a lot of different aspects. And obviously, when a student is given a scholarship, they're required to fulfill a number of criteria within the course structure in the school when you're enrolled. So you do not have to have any disciplinary recordings against you or any complaints against you. You're supposed to be a regular student with respect to your attendance and consistent academic grades. So if a student is deserving, and if a student has done enough hard work previously and continues to do so, JSI is very flexible with respect to its scholarship policies and very helpful, might I add.
Well, that's good to know, because we at the OP General Global University, we would not want to deny this level of education, this quality of education to anyone who can't deserve it, which is why we have a number of options in terms of scholarships. Very quickly, I want to talk about mentorship. And I know we referred to this earlier in this webinar, but I want to turn to Zeus. And could you talk a little bit about the mentorship that you've received, maybe from faculty members, from seniors?
So on mentorship, there are two different approaches that you can take to it. The first is that when you join the school, you are assigned a mentor, a faculty member it's generally depending. Give you a random faculty member who works with you and who can mentor you and give you advice and stuff like that. But on the other hand, you can approach any other faculty as well who is willing to help you, and they are generally very helpful. Any questions you have, whether for academics or for career choices or anything, you can just approach a faculty and they help you. For mentorship, I had a mentor in my first year he's Professor Nicholas. He was there for the first year, and then he went on a sabbatical. He hasn't returned as yet. But the experience I had with him in the first year was pretty good, because what he helped me do was work on my basics, on the foundations. When you join Jindal, some come with a predetermined that I want this out of the course and this is what I want to do afterwards in life. I was not really sure. I had varied number of interests. And what he told me is, he said, read and learn and pick different topics, read different books. You generally read maybe fiction, maybe not. So he gave me different research topics, not research topics actually, but just books to read. And he said, this may help you to determine what you want to do. And the first year, you just build on that, see what you want to do. And then that is what you build on in the future. So on the course you want to take, then maybe you angle your entire study at Jindal towards that. So you have a better option in the future.
Right.
He left, but he helped me with the foundations. Then after that, once he left Jindal, I approached another professor, Professor Pankaj, who was also taught me in my third semester. And I went to him for mentorship, and he has also been as helpful as earlier. Professor Nicholas helped me on my foundations. Professor Pankaj helped me with a lot of my research opportunities, internship opportunities, even career guidance, like what I want to do in the future and stuff like that.
Right.
So I've had a very good experience
of mentorship. Of all of us, you guys are on campus. I live literally a kilometer away, and all of us, in terms of the 5,100 students, the 569 faculty members, all living in close proximity to each other, sort of really helps with the mentorship, with that mentorship process, right? Because you could literally bump into your mentor at any point of time during the day or in the evening or at night, right? All right. But that's pretty much it in terms of the serious stuff that we wanted to talk about, in terms of academics, in terms of internships, careers, research, exchange, and even mentoring. I want to turn to Abhijit now. And Abhijit, you're also of the graduating batch, and hopefully you will clear all your exams. What's the student life like? Is it boring? Is it rambunctious? What's been your experience outside the classroom been like over the last 3 years?
I think it's been one of the best times I've had in my entire life, and it's definitely something that I will really, really miss. It's a very vibrant culture at Jindal. There are a wide variety of festivals and wide variety of student activities happening.